Phase 2 is about to start. Besides Morny, don't forget guys, we also have two other characters running at the same time as her. They are Augusta and Yuno. But after several new characters came up, I think they have become less popular now, and maybe some of you are already saving up your astrides to pull Morny, Luke, and even Amy. But are they both actually still relevant in the meta? And are they still worth it to pull? Don't worry my friends, in today's video I'll be discussing Augusta and Yuno, and mostly we'll talk about their strengths and weaknesses. And that way, we can also help determine if they are still relevant up until now. Before we begin, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe button. Now if you have done that, let's get this video started. Augusta is a very strong electro DPS who wields a broad blade to demolish her enemies, and her main focus is in heavy attack damage. Her ideal setup is to successfully obtain 2 bars of Red Sword Forte so that she will unlock her Red Liberation, hold it to activate, and then she will deliver 9 instances of damage in a quick succession while stopping the time with a maximum duration of 7 seconds, and finish the enemy with a nuke damage at the end. But how do we get to do that? Augusta has the most complex and holds the most number of fortes if being compared to other characters in the game. She has 3 damn fortes. The goal here is to make these 2 swords bar filled so that she can activate her second liberation. But doing that is kind of tricky and complex, especially if you are not used to playing with Augusta and potentially want to pull for her in the rerun. So before entering the combat, you ideally want to wait for several seconds so that her Red Sword Forte is turned on automatically thanks to one of her inherent skills. Otherwise, you will consume so much time just to get her second liberation. And then you can either perform her complete basic attack stages or resonance skill to fill up her first purple bar forte. This way you will get enhancement to your heavy attack, and you can use this to fill her second forte, the one that has a circle shape. Using your basic liberation also can fill this circle bar. Once this circle is full, resonance skill will be enhanced and can be used for 3 times. This has the animation where Augusta will leap into the air using her Griffin and end with both of them using plunge attack. This ability will recover 1 Red Sword Forte, and by then, you can finally have 2 swords and you can use her second liberation to crush your enemies. See? If you look at it, Augusta might have really complex gameplay since the number of fortes is just a lot. This is followed by some of the tricks you need to know when playing her. After delivering nuke damage, you normally switch to other characters, while automatically triggering their intro and also Augusta's outro. Doing this, Augusta will recover 1 Sword Forte again, so technically this is to make her second rotation seems easier. Let me give you an example. If you perform Augusta's outro and switch to Shorekeeper and trigger her intro, you cannot directly switch to Mortefi again or other character again. Instead, you have to wait for several seconds or let the active character to cast their own outro so that the sword bar is still active. Otherwise, Augusta's Sword Forte will instantly disappear and you will have a hard time activating her second liberation. This also potentially kill the chance for her to be able to perform a quick swap gameplay. For some new players or someone that want to use Augusta for the first time, I think it's normal to sometimes forget about this mechanism, especially at the start of the combat where you have to wait for several seconds until her Red Forte is turned on. I personally make these mistakes multiple times when playing her when her first banner was released, so I think it's fair to say that this is one of her weaknesses. And then because we know now that to get to her second liberation is somewhat a long journey, this also makes Augusta a backloaded damage dealer. Some of her biggest damage comes from her second liberation, that's including multiple slashes and the nuke damage. This makes her a not really good fit to crush some small mobs, especially during an endgame like Wuthering Waves. And don't forget, the nuke damage from her ability might not always result in crit hits, even if you already bring Shorekeeper as her sustain. When we talk about Wuthering Waves, her time stopping ultimate can bring some drawbacks. Though this might not necessarily happen often, but there are times when you are freezing the time, you simultaneously freeze the next incoming respawning enemies, and the final hit of her liberation will deal damage to none, and this is a huge waste. I personally encountered this scenario multiple times, and I think it's just one of her weaknesses despite her huge damage output and unique gimmicks. Don't forget, Augusta also has a shield built into her kit. It's normal to think this as one of her self-sustain mechanics, but in reality, they are not. This shield somewhat serves to only enable some of her best in-slot echo sets, which is the Crown of Valor and also her own signature weapon passive. And no, this shield won't protect you from taking huge damage from enemies, and they also won't raise Augusta's own resistance to interruption. But aside from those weaknesses, Augusta is still one of the best DPS in the game, because no characters exist without any flaws, right? She is capable of dealing massive single targets and AoE damage. It's true, her time stopping gimmick may sometimes be the death of her, but its main purpose is to brutally finish the enemies, without making herself so vulnerable in the battlefield. This time freezing is not just to delay the countdown of any endgame, but it also prolongs the buff duration from Shorekeeper's ultimate, for example. This way, your team's rotation could be smoother. What makes Augusta a very strong carry is not just her personal damage, but also the team compositions she can enable. Sure, she benefits a lot from having Yuno on the team thanks to Yuno's ultra buffs, but Augusta can still perform extremely well even without Yuno by pairing her with Mordefi as her support. You can even use Frolova as the second DPS in her team, and unlike Cartasia, she's not heavily dependent on her own signature weapon. In fact, you can still use Jian's weapon as the replacement and even the Lastros Razor. Because of this, Augusta is actually quite FTP friendly when it comes to team building. Augusta still remains relevant in the current meta, and most importantly, her teams are very F2P and quite versatile. But if you ask if she is going to become an upgrade over Shang Liao, whose gameplay mechanics are much easier, the answer depends. If you already get Yao for free in the past events, and somehow manage to get his signature as well and it's still comfortable to play him, you can upgrade him by pulling Linne, who is now the top tier flexible character in the game. But if you feel that your Shang Liao is somewhat lacking, pulling Augusta is still a great choice, especially her flexibility in team compositions as well as weapon options. Now when it comes to Yuno, she is often seen as simply an upgrade over Mordefi for Augusta teams, but she actually offers much more than that. She can provide heavy attack damage amplification to the next Resonator, has very strong self buffs, and can also heal and provide shield for herself. Because of this, Yuno can function as a main DPS and is not strictly locked into being a heavy attack support for a main carry. Now unlike Augusta, whose kit is kind of complicated, Yuno is simpler, thankfully. All you need to remember about her kit is that she has two modes, Half Moon and Full Moon. This Half Moon is basically for herself, used when she deals damage. And the Half Moon is going to give extra damage amplification to the next Resonator that can consistently generate shields and is stackable. What a perfect fit for Augusta, right? She has 100 basic forte and you want to fill this bar by attacking. But take note that using intro skill and resonance liberation each will fill 40% and 60% of Yuno's basic forte. And then you can simply press space button so Yuno can start dealing damage using her bow while simultaneously heals the entire team. This type of damage will be considered as liberation damage. After consuming all the forte, you can now enter her full moon state by holding her basic attack. The full moon will give the next Resonator a blazing that lasts for 30 seconds in the form of extra 4% damage amp, stackable up to 10 times, with the condition that Resonator must be able to generate a shield. So besides giving her team a consistent heal, Yuno also can grant them a multiple damage amplification, the one that your active Resonator gets from her full moon mode. Also, the heavy tech damage based DPS could also get the benefit from her outro skill, as they will get 50% heavy attack damage amp. It's not just the main carry that can get the damage amp. Yuno herself has huge self buffs thanks to one of her enhanced skills, where every time she casts intro skill or liberation, she immediately gains the damage amp buffs for herself, where this amplification acts similar to her full moon mode. She can activate this since she basically can also generate a shield for her own every time she deals damage, making her best in slot echo set is the same as Augusta. This is why Yuno can be a good main carry since she is technically a very independent character whose role is very flexible. As a main carry, her damage is awesome, and as a sub DPS, her damage is also good, and most importantly, she has a very efficient concerto regen that will result in smooth rotations. You could say that Augusta might need Yuno, but Yuno does not always need Augusta to perform well on your account, which makes her a highly flexible unit with multiple roles: sustain, secondary carry, and even main DPS. Moreover, we recently welcomed a new character who offers the same flexibility and also can provide multiple buffs. Yep, she's Linne. Linne's outro can even increase Yuno's damage significantly since she offers 15 general damage amp and also 24% liberation damage amp. Even when playing Yuno as a main carry and only using Chiakona as her support, whose outro skill has nothing to do with Yuno, she already performs really well. What I'm saying is that Linne's presence can be a huge upgrade for Yuno, and this way, she is definitely still relevant in the current meta. As for her weaknesses, I don't think I can find one. If there is any, it's just that her damage amp from her full moon mode is only restricted to a character that can continuously generate a shield on their own, and at this point, only Augusta can do that. And maybe she is also prone to interruption, so at some point, it may disrupt her rotation. Other than that, she is completely fine, I guess. I would also want you to remember and take some notes that pulling Yuno purely to upgrade your Augusta team is not wrong, but you might be overlooking her potential as an independent unit. If your goal is only to slightly upgrade your Augusta team, Mortefi could technically does his job very well already, but I think it's wiser for you to pull her if you really want to fully unlock Yuno's potential, give her more flexibility, and possibly make her your main carry. This way, all of your astrites are worth spending. So that's all for today's video. When talking about Augusta and Yuno, whose banner are going to be running in the second phase of patch 3.0, they are still that good and of course still relevant in the meta. I hope this content can be helpful for you guys and might cleanse away all of your doubts about these two characters. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, turn on notification as well so you won't miss out on my new Wuthering Waves content. I will see you guys on my next one. Bye bye!